You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Conversation. I'm Ottoabasi, Abasiekong. This edition will discuss repositioning Nigeria's commodities market ecosystem for sustainable growth. My guest is Mr. Akinsola Akeredolu-Ale. He's the CEO of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much today. Thank you very much.
Yes. Let's first begin with the recent Investments and Securities Act 2025, which is now enacted into law. What opportunities does it present to the commodities markets in Nigeria?
First of all, we must thank the Commission SEC for pushing this particular act. And this particular act is going to be creating a lot of opportunities for the commodities market. And if you go and look at that act, I think there was a lot of emphasis on the commodities market than even any other sector. And from what you see there, you're going to see a transformation of the capital market a lot more, whereby we'll be capturing the potentials of Nigeria and the commodities ecosystem. That particular act seeks to bring in transparency into our markets, structured trading into our market, enhancing regulatory oversight and the legitimacy of transactions. There was also a very big focus on the warehousing receipts. And then the legitimacy of warehousing receipts has been put in place now, to the extent that warehousing receipts now are now bankable, are now instruments that are going to become tradable, that are going to be acceptable as instruments that I can invest in. And this will create a very big game changer in the commodities ecosystem. And then it will also allow for structured exchanges to be able to bring out agricultural products for solid minerals, for agriculture, the energy resources that we have in Nigeria, and also we'll be able to have what we call legal upgrade in that particular ecosystem, and the acceptability and acceptance of commodities in this space will be able to move to the next level. And you will now start seeing that the capitalization size of Nigeria's capital market is going to grow exponentially, because you have a market whereby our economy, we're looking at 69 to 70% is from the commodities space. Now it will be captured in a structured way. That is what the IC has done, and we're very, very grateful to the federal government. We're very happy that SEC pushed it, and we now have this in place from the visionary position and the leadership of the Commission.
Very interesting. And how does this inspire the LCFE to carry out most significant activities, especially around attracting listings in the agric and solid minerals space? Also that you trade oil and gas also.
Yeah, you know that for the ecosystem now, the major thing that was of big concern before was the legitimacy of the commodity assets itself. Now the commodity assets are now being backed by law. So it's now left for the federal government has created the enabling environment. They've created a legal framework for us to run. It's now left for us to start bringing in products that are going to be traded on the exchange. As for the exchange, it means easily now we can now start issuing instruments that are commodity backed for the oil and gas space, particularly petroleum liquids now, the oil space now, the agric space now, and then the solid mineral space. This will bring us liquidity in the ecosystem, and we'll expand the product offerings that we have now in the ecosystem there. And we're going to have a sustainable market growth there. Particularly of major emphasis in the ISA is the fact now that the definition of what a warehouse is and where it should be has changed. Before, the definition covers that a warehouse should just be a go-down building whereby you store grains, bags of things. Now the definition has expanded that to the extent that a warehouse can be a vault where you put solid minerals, solid metals like gold and gold. It could be a silo. Now it could be a mother vessel. It could be a liquid tank. Now, and all this now allows for you to be able to issue warehouse receipts on those warehouses, not necessarily the regular building go down warehouses now. Now even the cold storage now, now you can issue warehouse receipt now, cold storage facilities, to the extent that we'll not be able to start, forestalling what we call post-harvest losses.
Losses, which has been huge.
Which has been very, very huge, and has created a lot of loss in Nigeria. Now people can trade on them. It can become bankable now. Now, I'm sure that with this new ISA now, and the legitimacy that's been put into the commodity assets and the products that are going to be coming out from that, the structured products, the pension industry will now start eyeing that ecosystem to see are there ways that we can participate in this ecosystem. And I'm happy that at least the pension system have started looking at the solid metal space, particularly for gold, to see how they can participate in in gold, and that is the beginning. Later, we'll start moving towards lithium. We'll start moving towards silver. We'll start moving towards some other metals that are used for technology and all that in Nigeria. So it's a welcome development, and I think the government has done their own part. They've given the laws in place. They've given the enabling environment in place. They've given you the licenses for us to now get the product to be able to activate and work on the ecosystem and to be able to work on them better.
Speak a bit to the linkage between a robust commodities ecosystem and accelerated economic growth. For example, we see what is happening in Nasarawa State, lithium and all that. So those kind of investments can have some linkage with the commodities market.
Yes, there has to be continuous linkages, not only commodity linkages. Yeah. Because as we speak now, most people mobilize capital from outside Nigeria to come and do mining within Nigeria and excavate and take all those things out of Nigeria. And a lot of states in Nigeria have so many solid mineral deposits there. And the federal government has done their own part. Apart from the ISA, the Ministry of Solid Minerals has also issued licenses to cadastrals for you to have large-sized locations to do the mining. Now, do Nigerians have the capacity to deploy instruments and heavy equipment to do the mining? Yes. Now, when there's a structured arrangement whereby there's an offtake in place, that is, there's a commitment for people that are going to take it out, and the products are there, and the artisanal miners can produce them, then the aggregators are there. The major thing is when you move these products into a warehouse, a structured warehouse, and you now issue a warehouse, we see that this is XY they have in this warehouse, and it's confirmed and regulated by an entity and by law. It makes it easier for it to become bankable and for investors to be able to participate both locally and internationally, because they now know that there's a law backing it. So effectively now, if you issue a warehouse receipt in Nigeria now, it is something that the international community will be looking at now to see that this is another product offering, this is an instrument that they can participate in, invest in, and of course, is safe and very secure.
Now, in the areas of innovation, speak to us around products. You mentioned it earlier, that it gives opportunities for the commodities exchanges to come up with innovative products.
For products, we have a current ecosystem that the ISA is now bringing everybody together under one umbrella now. If you go and look at the ISA now, it's not expanded, even the participants in the ecosystem and more, and that creates space for the commodities exchanges to be able to function better with law and by law. We now have spaces for the fixed income to be able to work better. Now, what that makes us to do is that we can easily now start issuing them commodity-backed instruments. Then in the ISA also, it also gives space for digitalization of assets, Then digital assets can now play a lot of role there. And it also gives a lot of space for retail, smaller sized retail, whereby smaller investors can participate in the ecosystem through collective investment schemes. And people, for example, a typical young man that wants to invest in gold, a bar of gold, it costs a lot of money. You're talking if a kilogram of gold will cost you almost about 150 million. So as a young man, if I want to buy gold, I should be able to buy a subset of that, a smaller size part of it. So the digital assets will give space for that, and the retail part will be able to work for that. And what we've done is that if you want to trade gold, you can easily buy at least 1 gram of gold for yourself. And if you want to push further, you can go further and buy 50 gram. If you buy up to 50 gram, which is the equivalent of a gold coin, you can take delivery of the gold coin. And that allows new investors to come in and participate. Now, if you're doing that in the gold space, it allows for younger people, the new generation people, the various asset managers to be able to participate. Same thing with other assets. We've done that also with the paddy rice and the rice space now. Now, for example, easily without having to eat the rice, you can invest in rice contracts. And then when you invest in the rice contract, you can decide to take delivery later, or you can sell the instrument to someone else later that will take delivery at a later date. These are the opportunities that are coming up gradually in the commodity space. It's taking a while to build it because you have to build the ecosystem around it. You have to build the stakeholders around it, the banking sector, the depository, the registrars working there, the brokers that are going to be trading them there, the dealing member firms and all that. We've had to go and do all that to be able to create an ecosystem. The icing on the cake was the ISA that now crowned it and made everything now into law and given a bite to it.
We always come back to the ISA, which is a game changer. So a lot of things to come as we track what's happening with the Commodities Exchange. But let's look at opportunities for interoperability, especially with other exchanges. I've heard the NSDPL CEO say that looking at working with LCFE and other commodities exchanges to look at products, of course, and you've talked about it too. The most important thing is catching the young new investors. But speak to us on the horizon. What are we expecting in terms of interoperability with our exchanges and even MOUs that can really deepen activities in the market?
You see, I'm very happy that you mentioned that. And I'll still go back to the IC that gives space for, it has given us an opportunity to have waivers and to also to be able to work together by way of infrastructure. See, some of the infrastructure that is required to build the capital markets is not every institution that has the capacity to deploy them. Now, normally in any ecosystem, we're supposed to have a CCP. You know, and the CCP is supposed to, guarantee trades, guarantee trade and settlement. And we're happy that one of the exchanges has been able to set up one NG cleared for us to be able to do that. Now, if you're going to do a depository also, whereby you want to dematerialize them instruments and all that, it takes a lot to be able to deploy resources into the technology. We have a central securities clearing system depository in place to do that. And the federal government has put in place NIBS, the Nigeria Interbank and Settlement, to be able to make sure that all these things are seamless. And of course, we have the banks also, the settlement banks, that are already, primed to be able to participate in the capital markets. This creates smooth interoperability for us to be able to work hand in hand and to be able to create bigger instruments, create bigger pies in the ecosystem. And in reality, this is an economy, it's an ecosystem, and it's a pyramid whereby every other sector is interrelated to the other sector in one way or the other. So yes, and the good part of what SEC is also doing is the issue of the data protection in place and data usability and how we work with data and how to be able to mobilize data and use it to be able to come up with scientific decisions in the ecosystem. Those are some of the things that we're going to be working together on. And I also see a situation later whereby some exchanges will also be looking at maybe creating some mergers also, because there are some of us that have capacity by way of physical resources, some have technical capacity, and some have knowledge capacity and all that. There's going to be convergence of that. But as we speak now, one interoperability is working very well.
Commodities plays a very critical role in Nigerian economy. I mean, about 60 to 70% of GDP and even contributes to economic activities. And it's always been stated that we must move from being a commodities economy to value added. And that is where we can see the importance of what commodities exchanges are doing. So looking ahead, where do we see the commodities market ecosystem powering more economic activities and even beyond Africa? We now have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
Yeah, I'll start from the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I'm very happy to say that the LCFE, Lagos Commodity Futures Exchange, is part of that arrangement in building a Pan-African Commodities Exchange along with them. An association has been set up, and they're very effective with Ghana Commodities Exchange, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Nigeria, and all that. We're all working together to build a bigger ecosystem. But the major thing that is the fact that the emphasis on the commodities space has been very, very high from the federal government of Nigeria. Mr. President has continually been mentioning that, look, I want you people to rev up production. I want you people to rev up production. Let us see how we can produce more food to feed ourselves. Let us see how we can produce more to be able to do what we call beneficiation. Beneficiation is the part whereby you take your commodities from a non-processed position to a semi-processed position to a fully processed position. And we have seen the price differential in the international community when you do beneficiation by way of moving things from a raw position to a semi-processed position. For example, for cashew, the difference is almost about 40%. If you take raw cashew and you do beneficiation and move it to the semi-processed position. And the difference in cocoa is almost like 100%. If you move it from cocoa beans to cocoa butter or cocoa powder and all that. So the benefits, and I'm happy that some states are looking at creating what we call commodities processing zone, whereby people can go there, take your commodities there, and they're processed to a semi-processed zone, and you can get better value for it. For example, though we have not gotten our full approval to start trading lithium, we know that by the time you do beneficiation for lithium, where you move it from the raw state to the next state, the value changes so much, and there's so many countries that are looking for semi-processed or beneficiated commodities in Nigeria. So effectively, I think the federal government has given us the law to back us. They've given us the advocacy. There's the political support there. And you also have the political will that's been given by Mr. President to say, you guys move ahead. And I think that if they're giving us that, and we have the commission, that is Securities and Exchange Commission, then we now have someone that's there that knows the commodities market like the back of his hands. That's Dr. Agama. He's driving this process in a very, very remarkable way. And recently, I'm sure that you've been announced later, we've been able to come up with something that's going to be affecting part of the oil and gas space also, to be able to build a bigger pie for us in Nigeria.
That should be first on the news from ProShare too, once it comes out.
That's going to be a lovely game changer also there, because it means that also in that space also, we'll be able to start seeing how we are enlarging the market capitalization with gas. Yes. And that means that we'll be able to start growing that ecosystem.
Unlocking value from it.
Unlocking a lot of value. And we know that Nigeria is a gas country. So we're happy with the commission being able to do that. And the commission is also there also all the time to assist us that, what do you need? And then I'm happy that at the point when we needed the support of the commission on the issue of our gold, when we were trying to take it to the London Bullion Metal LBMA standard, they supported us in making sure that we had the right specification, the right quality, and the outcome was excellent. And we've had that in so many other spaces. Also for the standards organization, they've been supported to make sure that the standards are proper. For the insurance sector also, to make sure that the commodity ecosystem are properly insured, everything. They're working with the insurance companies also to make sure that everything in the commodity ecosystem is going out and coming out and better. And they've also been able to support the product development also, to be able to make sure that these products that come out are bankable, reliable, and very, very tradable in the ecosystem. So I think major thing is the body language from Mr. President is very clear. We're happy about it. And gradually, Nigeria is moving and growing towards being a self-sustaining economy by way of the commodity space. And I'm sure that gradually you'll start seeing a situation whereby the productions will be revved up more, and beneficiation processing also will be revved up more. And there's more interest now from the international community wanting to come and participate with the Nigerian institutions that are participating in the particular ecosystem like the commodity space.
Very interesting conversation. From what you said, the policy makers are supportive. The regulatory steps have been set by the ISA 2025. And of course, the beneficiation. I like that part. And the fact that we can begin to get value from our commodities, not just Nigeria, but across Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll continue to keep track on the commodities market, especially LCFE and other of your fellow exchanges, because you people are now coming on stream to become key catalysts to growing our markets and, in a larger sense, growing our economy. You want to say a last word?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the Africa Free Trade part
area.
Of it. Yeah.
I think one of the major things, exchange.
One of the major things that is coming out of there, which I see as a very big game changer, is the fact that they are processing and focusing on intra-Africa trade. Yeah. You see, the intra-Africa trade is almost like we have a situation whereby everything that we want to sell in Africa, we don't have to sell them to any.
We can do it intra.
We can sell everything within Africa. You are talking about the $1 trillion economy, and that gives us space for what we call cross listings, dual listings with those people.
Cross-border trades.
Cross-border trades for us to be able to work together. Then we're also working on shared services to be able to have shared services there. And then we're now looking at benchmarking. Because, for example, from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire to Ghana, we all trade cocoa. And now what we're trying to do is to look at the benchmarking position whereby the cocoa prices are even across this particular region. When you have this, it makes it easier for the international community to start engaging with you. Then also on the issue of capacity, I must confess that Nigeria is a very, very large country. By way of capacity, by way of infrastructure, by way of sophistication, I think in Africa, Nigeria has, we are at the top. Because first of all, our banking system is very, very sophisticated. It has the capacity to take any volume of transactions. Nigeria is one of the few countries that has an established depository that's fully functional. Yeah. We're one of the few countries that now has its CCP adequately capitalized there. And we have a solid equities market. We have a solid fixed income market. And what we're just trying to do is to fix in the commodities market into that we have a totally bigger picture. Before we know it, Nigeria will become a very, very massive power in the commodities space regionally and Pan-Africanly. Yeah.
Every time I'm seeing you, you've always been an incredible optimist about our possibilities in deepening our market, especially to the commodities. So I'm not surprised, but it's very clear that with what you've shared, that there's a lot that's going to happen in the commodities market space, and we'll continue to keep track on them. And we'll just hope that there's more timely market information just to help deepen this space.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I know that gradually we know that we are a population almost about 230 million people. And that is a population that's going to be consuming a lot of commodities.
Yeah.
And that's a population that can control the economy of Africa, and which is the largest economy in Africa. And what we're just trying to do is the $1 trillion mark economy that we're looking at as an aspiration in Africa, that Nigeria will get to it first before any other country in Africa, with what the Mr. President has put down for Nigeria, with what Dr. Agama has put down for ISA for 2025 year, and what all the opportunities that have been given to us now for us to be able to grow the ecosystem. I think now the sky's the limit. We've spent 4 years putting together these stakeholders, this ecosystem together, and the participants in this space. Now we've just started reaping the fruits of what we have done, and start activating some of these products to become listed. Very soon, after having gone for 2 years doing the documentation, we are going to be listing the first rice forward contract. That is a contract that's fully tradable on an exchange on LCFE, and that rice forward contract is going to be, I don't want to give the figure now.
But
we have the approval from the commission.
Information, but it's interesting.
Thank you
Interesting
very much.
times. Rice forward contract. We talked about something happening in the oil and gas, the gas space, in terms of the gas market.
And we are looking at the for the oil and gas. We are looking at we call it petroleum liquids now.
Liquids, yeah.
Yeah, because now you see there's now a convergence between the PIA that's been signed, and the ISA 2025 now, whereby the petroleum liquids now, the PIA is going to be supporting the ISA for us to be able to do all these trades now in the petroleum liquids space. Our focus is going to be on the petroleum liquids. We are not going to be participating in the gas space.
Yeah. Very interesting times from what you've shared about the commodities market, and we'll continue to track that. But thank you very much, Mr. Akinsola Akeredolu-Ale, CEO of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, for this interesting conversation on repositioning Nigeria's commodities market ecosystem for sustainable economic growth. Thank you for the time.
It's always good to have you every time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our viewers, that will be all for this conversation. If you want to follow more of what's happening on our platform, log on to our website displayed on the screen, and also follow our social media platforms. So you come your way again. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.